Have you ever stopped to think about what really separates potential from, actually getting things done? It's a huge question. We all have a certain amount of freedom, a certain amount of ability, but that's only half the picture. Because it's not just about what you can do, is it? It's about what you will do. And that's what we're going to dig in today. That crucial, often overlooked difference between having the opportunity and having the guts and the will to actually seize it.
And this right here, this quote from Colin Powell, this is our North Star for this whole explainer. It just perfectly sums up that tension between what we can do, which is all about ability, and what we will do, which, let's be honest, comes down to character. It's such a simple idea, but man, it has some seriously profound implications.
So this is the big question we're tackling. What is that space between our potential and our performance? What fills that gap? To really get our heads around it, we're going to use a simple, but I think really powerful framework. To help us map this out, we're going to break down human potential into 4 distinct quadrants. Trust me, this will give us a super clear way to talk about these big ideas.
And boom, here it is. As you can see, it's a simple 2x2 grid. On the vertical axis, you've got ability. This is what you either can or can't do. Pretty straightforward. Then, running across the horizontal axis, you have character, and that's all about what you either will or won't do. Put them together, and you get 4 very different ways of showing up in the world.
So first up, let's look at the top right, can and will. We call this the mastery quadrant. This is the sweet spot, right? It's where your skills and your intentions are totally in sync. You have the ability, you have the desire, and you actually do the thing. This is where potential stops being just a nice idea and becomes reality.
Okay, now for a really interesting one, the temperance quadrant. This is can but won't. Think about it. This is a pure test of character. It's when you have the ability to do something, maybe it's something easy or tempting, or maybe even just wrong, but you choose not to. It's that quiet strength, making the right call even when nobody is looking over your shoulder.
Now let's move to what I think is the most exciting quadrant of all, can't but will. Welcome to the growth quadrant. You might not have the skills yet, but you've got the one thing that matters most, the willingness, the desire to try, to learn, to fail, and to get back up. This is the place where pure grit forges new abilities out of thin air.
And finally, we have to talk about the most dangerous place to hang out, can't and won't. This is the victim quadrant. When you're here, you don't have the ability and you have absolutely no willingness to develop it. And this just leads to a nasty cycle of complaining, blaming everyone else, and basically just waiting around for someone to come and rescue you.
So what this whole map shows us is that willingness, well, that's the real engine of change. To see just how powerful it is, let's zoom in on that growth quadrant and look at a real-life story of how will can literally create can. So to put it simply, the growth quadrant is just that state where your willingness comes first. It's the commitment, the desire that acts like rocket fuel to build the skills you don't have right now. Every single master of any craft started their journey right here.
A perfect example of this is the story of an anthropologist named Daniel Everett. So he grows up near the Mexico border and just feels this intense pull, this fascination with the culture right next door. Now at first, he can't speak the language, doesn't know the customs, he's squarely in the can't zone. But he had the will. He dove in, he immersed himself, and that raw willingness is what eventually transformed him into a world-renowned expert. Everett's story just hammers home the point that living in the growth quadrant isn't something that just happens to you. It's an active choice. I love this quote from Louise Hay. I choose to make the rest of my life the best of my life. That's it right there. It's a choice you have to consciously make, probably every single day.
Okay, so we get what willingness can do, but let's talk about the how. How do we actually build that kind of will? Let's get practical and look at some real tools for developing the discipline we need to stay in that growth quadrant.
The Stoic philosopher Seneca actually gives us a massive clue. He warns us against superficial learning. The endless scrolling and skimming we all do. He says, no, you have to go deep. You have to linger with a few powerful ideas, really wrestle with them, digest them, until they become a part of you.
Marcus Aurelius had this fantastic metaphor for it. He said the goal is to be less like a fencer and more like a boxer. See, a fencer's weapon, the sword, is separate from them. It can be dropped, it can be lost, but a boxer's weapon, it's their own fist. It's fused to them, it's always ready. That's the goal of deep practice, to internalize knowledge until it's just part of who you are.
So what does this deep practice actually look like? Well, the Stoics had a system, a kind of feedback loop. It goes like this. First, you read a profound idea. Step 2, you go out and you struggle, and I mean really struggle, to apply it in your real life.
Then you journal about that struggle. The act of writing it down helps you find new insights, which you then take out and apply. Finally, you go back and reread your own notes to start the whole cycle over again. It's this incredible engine for growth.
Now, of all the tools in that loop, there's one that's absolutely crucial, and that's the practice of honest, rigorous self-examination. This is where you really have to face your own willingness or lack thereof head-on.
The philosopher Michel Foucault had an amazing term for this. He didn't see journaling as some passive, Dear Diary activity. No, he called it spiritual combat. He saw the journal as a weapon, a tool you use to drag your thoughts out into the light where you can inspect them, challenge them, and fight back against all the negative stuff that holds you back.
And Marcus Aurelius, he shows us exactly what this combat looks like. Just listen to the kinds of questions he was asking himself in his private journal. He wasn't doing this for anyone else. He knew that if he didn't interrogate himself with this kind of brutal honesty, nobody else was going to. And guess what? The exact same is true for us.
So what does this all boil down to for us today? It means we need to start seeing our hesitation not as a wall, but as a compass. It's pointing you exactly where you need to grow. It means we have to make courage a habit, something we practice every day. It means truly believing that you are in the driver's seat of your own life. And, it means understanding that the only time you ever really have to act is right now. Seize the day.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Colin Powell's words, they should land a little differently now, right? We can see so clearly that freedom and ability, well, they're just the ticket to the dance. The dance itself has won or lost based on our willingness to actually get on the floor, day in and day out.
In the end, this whole conversation comes down to a single question, a question that only you can answer for yourself. The freedom to build your skills, to forge your character, to live a life on purpose. That freedom is already yours. The only question left is, are you willing?